So then
e-commerce, like
what's that
there's
framework
different
then?
content as well.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So then for you, there's obviously a framework or a system that you put in place. So what does that look like when you work with somebody, and like what tools are you also leveraging to execute against that?
Yeah, so it's it's two things. It's a mix of inbound marketing and outbound, like sales, assisted by some tools. So the first piece of the action would be like obviously setting up somebody's LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to go over like the specifics because people have labored this to death, like format it like a landing page and format it
Right.
like a
Yeah.
sales letter. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be that guy to
Yeah.
tell them that on the call and not say anything of value. So
Yeah.
here's some new stuff. Well, new stuff in my opinion.
Yeah.
So format the profile, and then we're gonna aim to really determine like who is the ideal client persona or ideal client personas that is the economic buyer in their deal. Like,
Mhm.
is it two people? Is it one person? Who cuts the check? So, for example, for um, for a company I'm working with at the moment, so like they're doing some pieces with like sales enablement. So the people that cut the check for them are sales operations leaders. So we know that once we understand like, and we interview some of their customers, because in all fairness, like the idea of what them as a customer, like the client says is the ideal client persona, and they say that these are the things their customers have, and then you go, hey, Mr. Client, have you asked your customers this? They go, I remember we had a branding consultant that came in like 3 years ago, like post COVID. And then you're
Yeah.
like, okay. So it's a hypothesis. And so an ideal client persona is always ever changing towards whatever the needs of the market, whether it's a bear market or a bull market, going to be completely different offer, completely different like frustrations, etc. So we go and interview the clients. We say like, okay, like my clients, customers, and we say like, okay, like what made you buy? What made you almost not buy? What did you think you were buying? What was the unexpected benefit of that? What was like the biggest transformation? And what were the problems you were having at the time that when you came to them? And then we map all of that out, and then we get a really good idea of what their pain, opportunities, desires, specific metrics that they care about are. And then you have a ideal client persona that actually fits the needs of the market at that point when those clients were signed. So if they were signed this year, then it's going to be pretty accurate. So how does that relate to a content strategy? Well, yes, it's going to be obviously top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. But if I was to simplify this for any founder watching this right now, and over the last 12 months, like we've helped the 12 founders that we've worked with to generate 1.7 million from LinkedIn. All we do for the content strategy to varying shades is two types of posts. And this is super controversial because everybody says that it's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Two posts. The first is product-based or service-based posts. So this is taking a pain, opportunity, and desire metric that client really wants, and we will literally just break down how the product or service is going to help them to get that. The second post is an authority post where we are showing that we have a mastery of the reason why their problem exists in the first place. Because there's this weird psychological phenomenon. Like if you can describe a buyer's pain to them better in their own words than they can, they instantly think that you have the solution because you have a knowledge and mastery of the problem itself. But when you, in those authority posts, it's painting the problem and then just giving a really quick insight on like what or why they could do to solve it. You don't give the how, because the whole point of authority post is really a sales-based post, because they reach the end of it and they go, right, yeah, this problem is painful for me. They have a good understanding of why it exists. Here's what the benefit is of me doing this thing, but I don't really know how to do that. I need to message them to find out how they can solve my problem. Do you see the difference with like like the standard approach of going top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, and all of this stuff is tactical stuff, and you're giving away all of the info. So the client's just like, well, I've got all the info. I'm going to pass this to my marketing team. They're going to try it themselves. We want to incentivize them to go, these guys are experts. They understand my problem in depth. I can see that their product can solve my problems and our pains. And I can see that like that they don't hold that information on show. So I have a compulsion to reach out as a lead. So that's the first process. We
Okay.
will stack that a week as a cadence of anywhere from like 3 to 5 posts a week on LinkedIn from a senior leader's profile as it stands, who has buyers in their network. Because I've had CEOs be like, we're going to do my profile. And then I go, well, what's the quality of your network? How many buyers you got? They go, well, I'm like, you've got 1,000 connections, but your CMO's got 10,000 connections. Like,
Uh-huh.
who's got more? And I go, don't recommend that at all. Back your CMO to do it. We're going
Interesting.
to have way more likelihood of like success in this campaign.
Yeah.
So once that's set up and it's running, we want to do the following. We want to set up this like feedback loop where, yes, over time, we're going to be like looking at like on that buyer journey, and we do this with them on the kickoff call. What are the things that have to be in place? What does the buyer have to believe in order for them to buy? So it's like highlighting what are the things broken in their industry? What are the reasons that you believe that these problems exist in the first place? What is your new way to solve those problems? And then once we distill that, we just take that in the content as narratives over time, and we just talk about that over time. And then I would usually expect like within like 8 weeks to get like the first inbound leads. But the biggest game changer here is not the fact that the content is running, because for most people at this point, it is not something that is going to be super predictable. Like you're not going to have a CEO within like the average connections of like, let's say like 1,500 connections, getting like 5 sales qualified leads a month on LinkedIn. Super unlikely, super unlikely. So how can we actually get in front of buyers?
Yeah.
The real reason why people get content now is for engagement. So it's like the likes, the comments, the views, the connections on LinkedIn. And that is where at this stage, we set up our outbound cadence where we have an AI trained sales development rep who is basically trained on social selling specifically for LinkedIn.
Huh.
So we will create, yeah, you're going to jump in?